Welcome to 10 TV Plus. I'm Dylan Robichaud alongside Michael Behrens, and cold out there this morning.
Yeah.
Warming up though as we head into the afternoon.
Yeah, warming up this afternoon. It's going to be a great afternoon out there. Not quite what we started the week with, but you know, not bad.
We're not in the 70s, but at least we're not in the 20s like we were this morning.
Yeah.
when it was really cold out there. The whole day won't be sunny though. Clouds do increase as we head into the afternoon hours. Today's forecast will be a little bit warmer as you head down to the south, but as you head up towards Marion, Kenton, Urbana, those places sitting mostly in the upper end of the 40s as we head into the afternoon. This nice pocket of cold air aloft has really kept us cold out here this morning, but you know what? It's Ohio in the month of March. Blink your eyes and the weather changes. We're back to the 50s heading into the weekend. Speaking of the weekend, Saturday, probably the better of the 2 days at this point. Sunday morning looks pretty good. Sunday afternoon, not as good. So let's kind of walk you through what we're tracking. Heaviest showers come on through Sunday afternoon. Could be heavy at times. Umbrellas will be your best friend heading into Sunday night if you do have to be out there traveling. But like I said, this is only half the day. The first half of Sunday, not bad. 8 o'clock in the morning, lunchtime, nothing really showing up. But here comes that initial warm front that will lead to some showers here Sunday afternoon. And then this right here is the concern, that trailing cold front here. Typically, the cold front will have the heaviest showers. You'll notice that as we head towards late in the day on Sunday, take a look at that swath of rain, 7:30 p.m. Along and ahead of that cold front, we could even have a couple claps of thunder, maybe even some lightning, as we're going to be looking at that sliding on through the region. By Monday at daybreak, that is pretty much long gone and should be out of here. Now, rainfall, let's talk numbers here, because I'm thinking half inch probably in the cards, between a half inch and 3/4 of an inch. If you live in this blue shaded color, we're definitely looking at least a half inch when all is said and done. Through the beginning of April, though, we are below normal. And then as we take a look here at the next 6 to 10 days, heading out through the start of April, the green on the map shows abnormally mild conditions. We do have a slight downtick in the temperatures here. This would be next week. This is March 25th, 26th, and 27th. But then as we head towards the 28th, 29th, and 30th, we kind of go upwards here as we get some milder air moving back into the region. Quick update right now on those allergies. And you'll notice that the tree pollen, still moderate. Grasses, weeds, and mold, obviously, these are not cause for concern, but of course, that tree pollen we will continue to be tracking for you. It's that time of the year, late March, early April. We had our first 70-degree day. Now we're starting to warm things up here. Typically, around the first week of April, central Ohio starts seeing the leaves come out. But, you know, I took a walk yesterday. Already, some trees are budding early because of just how warm it has been this week. As we get a look right now at the 7-day forecast on Sunday, taking a look here at temperatures here in the middle end of the 50s. And then I don't want to forget tomorrow, if you're heading off to the Columbus Crew game, we have that 6:30 kickoff here at Lower.com Field. We'll be in the 50s, mid-40s, though, as you leave the stadium. Heading into Sunday, though, tracking that rain, how much? Well, it depends on exactly where you live. West of I-71, we're looking at around 1/4 to a half inch. But then as you head along in south of 71, could be looking at some areas picking up maybe even 3/4 of an inch. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're looking pretty dry, and then tracking the return of some showers as we head into Thursday of next week. Back to the lower end of the 50s. We're going to be tracking some pretty good rain chances, and also temperatures will be a little bit more cooler heading into next week.
You know, looking at the temperatures in this forecast, I'm kind of like, I'm wanting to say like we've seen a big cool down, but this is where we should have been. What we got earlier was where we shouldn't have been.
Right, exactly. Yeah. 70s, very uncommon for this time of the year. So 52, 53, that's where we are. That's about where we should be.
Yeah, about where we should be. And, you know, there's some rain in that forecast, but it doesn't look like we're going to have that high risk for flooding, which is a good thing out there. But as Ohio Severe Weather Awareness Week continues, Dylan, you're breaking down a little bit more about what viewers at home need to know about flooding and its dangers.
The thing is, I don't think folks realize how little moving water it takes to sweep somebody off their feet.
Yeah.
Only takes about 6 inches here. If you have excuse me, a small car, a sedan, only about 12 inches of moving water and about 18 inches of moving water to move a larger SUV or truck. Now, in order to warn you of potential flooding, the National Weather Service has a few different types of flood advisories, watches, and warnings. A flood advisory here, this is a bit more of a low-key alert. We're not looking at any major impact to life or property, but we're looking at minor flooding, especially in those low-lying areas. And then we step it up a notch. Aerial flood warning. If you see this, well, now we are talking a risk to life and property here. All right. And this is typically from a prolonged period of rainfall, at least greater than 6 hours. And then as we step it up even further, you probably heard of the term flash flood warning. Well, that happens from a short duration rain event, typically under 6 hours of heavy rainfall, and that can lead to rapidly rising water levels as well. Now, this isn't necessarily flooding, but standing water on the roadways can cause hydroplaning. This happens oftentimes if you're driving too fast, and let's admit it, a lot of us do that here when we shouldn't be driving too fast. Speeds at over 45 miles per hour, man, you should not be driving that fast because there could be standing water on the roadways here. A couple risk factors that increase the likelihood of hydroplaning. Again, we talked about speeding, but another risk factor is not having thick enough tread on your tire. And then some other risk factors, having too high or too low tire pressure here. So again, a good rule of thumb is to take that penny, flip it upside down. You don't want to see the top of Lincoln's head. It wants to be completely covered because that means that the tread is thick enough on your car.
And you know, when it comes to severe weather season, so many people think about the big ones, the tornadoes, the hail, the winds. But flooding, I think, outranks them all when it comes to impact to human life.
Yeah, well, like I said, flooding, number two. Number one, heat.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't realize that. Heat takes a lot of lives, but if we look at the 30-year average, flooding is number two, with over 50 people annually in the U.S. dying from flash flooding.
Yeah, easy to underestimate and certainly not something you want to mess around with.
Absolutely.
Out there. Yeah, and of course, you know, this isn't the only form of severe weather we can see in central Ohio. As severe weather season approaches, a growing concern is emerging for central Ohio residents with the region's population boom. More people could be at risk for potential tornadoes. And after last year's record-breaking season, it has some people worried. The video you see here is damage in Frazeysburg over in Muskingum County last June. The tornado that caused it was one of a number of unwarned tornadoes that hit in 2024. Those tornadoes highlight the critical need for improved detection in the Buckeye State. This week, I was able to dig more into how these deadly storms are tracked and why some slip through the cracks of our radar network. As our region grows, more people could be impacted by severe weather. And in central Ohio, that includes the potential for tornadoes. Last year, Ohio saw a record-breaking number of tornadoes at 74, and 11 of those touched down without warning, including the one in Frazeysburg. We wanted to find out more about how these storms get detected and how some could be missed.
A lot of damage.
Trees for the window.
Emotional and everything.
One of the walls in the upstairs bedroom, the walls kind of gone. It was very scary.
It's the night of June 5th, and a line of strong thunderstorms is sweeping across central Ohio.
And that would go along with the reports that we got when this warning came out that there was a spotted tornado working its way through the region.
National Weather Service meteorologists were also watching the storm.
Like with anytime there's a threat for severe weather, we have multiple eyes on the radar across central Ohio.
Tornado warnings had been issued earlier that night, but not for the storm that hit Frazeysburg. It touched down around 12:37 in the morning. It was on the ground for around 4 minutes, plenty of time to carve a path through town.
We heard the electric went out, and the next thing we know, we just heard flying glass.
Frazeysburg lies in what we call a radar hole. These happen when radar towers are placed too far away from each other, causing gaps in coverage that can impact our ability to see what's happening in a storm. The way radar works is by sending out pulses of energy. That energy bounces off objects in its path and returns to the dish. Based on how that energy returns, we can actually figure out things like speed, direction, or type of weather that's happening. If a radar beam shoots too high due to distances or curvature of the earth, that information becomes less reliable.
Keep in mind that tornadoes happen, within 1,000 feet of the ground. So we see mid-level rotation with storms like that. But again, we really need boots in the ground to kind of see what's going on.
In Frazeysburg, the main NWS radar beam is well above 1,000 feet, coming from Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and they aren't the only part of the state dealing with this issue. Ohio has 2 major radar towers and 3 others outside the state. These are assisted by smaller radars. While the main NWS radars can show up storms up to 150 miles away, they are most reliable 50 to 60 miles from the tower. That means dozens of counties and millions of Ohioans live in areas with less reliable radar coverage. And they're the areas where most of the unwarned tornadoes landed last year.
Where they are now, the National Weather Service 80ADs were determined to kind of coverage gaps as best they could in the 80s.
When the radar network was laid out roughly 4 decades ago, it was done so based on serving the areas with the highest populations, like Cleveland and Cuyahoga County and Cincinnati and Hamilton County. An issue now, Columbus and Franklin County outranks them both.
Were you guys kind of caught off guard?
Yes, because they had lifted the tornado warning. So, don't think this will happen, but it does.
As our region booms, more and more people find themselves caught in the gaps, but change could be slow to come. The major radar sites expected to remain where they are until our next generation of radars is developed sometime in the 2030s and the 40s. So it remains important. Take the threat for severe weather seriously, even if it doesn't always come with a warning. For 10 TV News, I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens. And remember, all of our Severe Weather Week coverage and any special weather content is always streaming on 10 TV Plus. You can get it on Fire TV, Roku, and Apple TV. Just download the app and watch for free anytime. While we've seen some beneficial rain recently here in Ohio, we've also seen some high fire risk out there. In fact, this past week, we had some of those warnings out across the region. Those risks not just happening in the Midwest, but also all around the country this spring. This video showing a massive wildfire scorching more than 2,300 acres of land down in Texas, forcing evacuations and sending firefighters to the front lines to stop its spread in San Jacinto and Montgomery counties. Conditions improved, and some of the 900 homes that were evacuated were now allowed to return. Crews are going to continue to monitor those conditions in the days ahead. And this video showing the aftermath of fires that swept through Manford, Oklahoma. They're facing more fire danger and more winds as we head into the weekend. They're asking people to be cautious about anything that could spark a fire and always do what they can to prepare ahead of time, such as watering lawns and removing objects that could burn close to houses. And of course, call in if a fire starts. Then turning to Florida. That's where more than a dozen wildfires are raging this afternoon. The biggest in southern Miami-Dade County. More than 24,000 acres have burned so far. There's no end in sight. Christian Benavides has more from Florida City.
A fast-moving fire has consumed tens of thousands of acres in South Miami-Dade for more than a week, disrupting life in the region. For several hours Thursday, officials shut down an 18-mile stretch of U.S. Route 1 in both directions, the crucial artery in and out of the Florida Keys, experiencing at times nightmarish traffic.
So how long were you stuck in traffic?
I think around 1 hour.
I'm beyond frustrated. I'm hurting.
The closures forced Robert Finley to ditch the drive and book a flight to see his hospitalized son in Key West.
What's going through your mind right now, trying just to get to him?
Just to get to my baby.
Busy fire crews are hoping for favorable weather conditions. CBS News Miami's Ivan Cabrera.
We need some rainfall here. We are under a severe drought. In fact, most of South Florida under a drought now, and we have no rain in the forecast over the next several days. National Weather Service has already issued a fire weather watch for those gusty winds in the afternoon and for very low relative humidity.
Those winds will also help clear out unhealthy air that prompted some residents to leave town.
You see that smoke like that, and with everything that happened in California, you don't want to get stuck.
US 1 here has reopened, but officials warn that could change at any minute. All of this is happening on one of the biggest spring break weekends, and there's a NASCAR event happening in nearby Homestead. We are under a brush fire alert from down here in South Miami-Dade County all the way up to Palm Beach. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Florida City.
And finally today, let's check out some new video windows here at 10 TV. Dozens of revelers gathered at Stonehenge Thursday to celebrate the first day of spring with spring solstice. Stonehenge is a collection of standing stones in the county of Wiltshire. Each year it attracts thousands of revelers, spiritualists, and tourists. Druids, a pagan religious order dating back to the Celtic Britain era, believe that Stonehenge was the center of spiritualism more than 2,000 years ago. That's one way to.
A long time ago. They do this every year on the the 2 equinoxes, I think.
Yeah. You know, Stonehenge was one of those sites that I first started seeing photos of when I was a kid. And it's definitely on my bucket list tourist location because it's cool. It's crazy that they built that back then.
Yeah, never been there before. Definitely bucket list though.
Absolutely. And speaking of some discoveries, a bit more into the future than the past, astronomers have made a surprising one about oxygen and elements in a most distant galaxy known to date. The galaxy called Jade's GSZ 14-0, more than 13 billion light years away and formed in the early days of the universe. It was first detected oxygen there in January 2024 using the James Webb Space Telescope, and that presence of oxygen suggests that the galaxies actually formed more quickly than expected.
Maybe not 13.5 billion years. Who knows?
I mean, that thing is forever far away. I love looking at space photos there. Pretty stuff anytime they release those. And you know, you're finding more oxygen out there? I mean, you got to wonder.
Yeah.
Are we alone in the universe?
Are we alone? My vote is no.
Probably not. Probably
not. Well, that will do it for us here on 10 TV Plus. Chief Meteorologist Joey Martz will have your forecast tonight at 6 o'clock.